Hello and welcome to Fast Horses Today. We are going to be covering the start of the race week, which does start on Friday, February 20th, over at Santa Anita. So Santa Anita, the Arcadia area, Southern California area, has gotten a lot of rain over this past week. And as a matter of fact, it's scheduled to be raining, as we are recording now on Thursday. So, they did a smart thing. They carded all dirt races for Friday, so that way nothing gets washed off the turf and we don't have a bunch of scratches and a very chopped up card. So kudos to the racing secretary, racing office for carding all dirt races on Friday. I'm sure that rain is going to be out of there over the weekend and we'll see some grass racing over at the Great Race Place. But let's get started on Friday's card. So Friday has a time of 12:30 Pacific, so that's 2:30 here, Central Time Zone. I'm going to skip over the first few races over at Santa Anita. We've got some light fields, some short fields. Looks like maybe some short prices are going to come in those first few races. I'm not seeing any value, but I do see some potential value in the late pick 5. And the late pick 5 does start in the 5th race on Friday. 5th race does have an approximate post time about 2:30 Pacific, so that's 4:30 here in the Central Time Zone. And we're going to start out with a 6-furlong dirt sprint. These are maiden $32,000 claimers. These are 3-year-olds. So let's face it, these are your bottom rung or your potential to be bottom rung horses there in Southern California. If they're giving up on these horses already at 3 years old, putting them in for 32, it just kind of tells you what the connections might think, what the trainers might think. I do have a single I'm going to put in this race. I do feel like based on this horse's run, looks like, it should be a tough customer for this field. So that is the 3-horse, who is Arranca. Arranca is trained by Sam Scolameri and ridden by Tiago Pereira. Now, I'm wondering about Arranca, where they got the name from. I'm wondering if it's for the, those of us who have followed Chicago racing decades ago. There was a jockey, Leslie Arranca, who ended up becoming a trainer as well after his riding career was over. He was a trainer, and for those who didn't follow Chicago racing nationally, you might remember the horse Mia Farah. Mia Farah was trained by Leslie Arranca, and Mia Farah lost 2 heartbreakers in the Breeders' Cup Sprint back in the early 90s. She was really a fast horse. I think she was by Meadow Lake, who, that doesn't surprise us. Meadow Lake used to produce some really nice horses. But anyway, Mia Farah, if you want to look her up, she was quite a nice racehorse, but she was, trained by Les Arranca. So I don't know if that's who this horse is named after, but I do think Arranca is going to be really tough on Friday in the 5th race. We're going to start that pick 5 out with Arranca. 7-5 in the program. I can totally see why. This horse has had 1 start. Ran on the Santa Anita grass course, the flat grass course at 6 furlongs with maiden special weights. Now, Arranca took the lead that day and ran a pretty nice race for like the first, 3 or 4 furlongs or so. Now, I'm really unfamiliar with this breeding. This is a Maryland bred by Modernist, and Modernist is by Uncle Mo. I'm not familiar at all with Modernist. So anyway, Scolameri brings this horse here. I think he just got realistic. Let's get some wins here. Scolameri doesn't really have a whole lot of horses in his barns. They're probably just looking for a win here. So I think, here in this 5th race, there's really not a whole lot here. I think Arranca is going to be really tough. So we'll single the 3-horse, who is Arranca. Let's go over to the next race of the day, being the 6th race. The 6th race is a 6.5 furlong dirt sprint. These are $25,000 claimers, condition claimers, horses who have not won 3 races in a lifetime, 4-year-olds and up. I'm going to put 4 horses in this race. I think it's, fairly open. We'll see if we can get a price, possibly. I'm going to put the 2-horse with Michi's Express for Doug O'Neill. Doug O'Neill puts Ismail Jaramil on this horse here. Now, Michi's Express at one time showed a lot of promise back in his early career. This is a Calbred. He's kind of been through, some tough races. Has a decent enough chance here. And I think, in this race here, this is probably, the level. We can't really dispute Doug O'Neill and where he's placing his horses. He's been doing a good job in getting wins. So Michi's Express at 3-1 certainly will be tough. Going to put the 3-horse, who is Handsome Ticket. Handsome Ticket, well-bred son of Speightstown. Things didn't work out as they originally had planned with this horse. This horse was dropped into a $10,000 claiming race, off quite a layoff, almost a year layoff. Mark Latt put this horse in for $10,000, non-winner 2. The horse won, as was expected, and it was claimed. Francisco Rodriguez claimed the horse from Mark Glatt, raises him up to $25,000. I think that's a good sign. It shows a lot of confidence there. I don't know if anyone's going to claim this horse again for 25, but I think that Francisco Rodriguez, certainly could do well off the claim. They're putting blinkers on this horse, so they must have seen something there. This horse is 9-5. No secret there. That's handsome ticket. Going to put the 4, who is Bally Hooligan. Bally Hooligan for George Papapadromo. Now, this horse won at 25,000 non-winner too, so it's just a slight step up, not too much of a step up. This horse is 2-1. Florent Giroux rides the horse here. This horse certainly fits with these. And then finally going to put the 6 horse. 6 horses, Unbridled Vision for Tim McCanna. Now, this was a horse that, certainly a horse that didn't live up to expectations. Very well-bred son of McLean's Music. This horse was almost a $250,000 purchase a few years back. Now they're running this horse in for $25,000. I almost didn't put this horse. I was kind of thinking, Calbred, why didn't they give him chances at the allowance ranks? And it's probably a good question, but, we'll see. We'll give Unbridled Vision a shot here on the outside with Thiago Pereira. Maybe Pereira's got some live mounts. Could have a multiple win race day there for Thiago Pereira. He's 8-1, so we'll put him in there. So we've got the 2, 3, 4, and 6. All right, now let's move over to the 7th race of the day. 7th race is a 6 furlong dirt sprint. These are maidens, and this is that condition that they've created a few years back there at Santa Anita. And, kind of in layman's terms, this kind of freezes out your big purchase price horses. So this has a couple conditions here. These are horses who have been in or sold at auction for $150,000 or less. Or if you don't fit that condition, you can put your horse in for a $62,000 $500 claiming price. There's a horse here that is in for that. A couple horses in for the claiming price, so that gets them in. But there's a horse here. I'm going to single this horse. I really liked this horse last time. Gave this horse out on Fast Horses today, and the horse lost on the wire. Really disappointed, and really cost some big tickets that I had cashing on this horse. That being the 2 horse, who is Sharon's Beach. Now Sharon's Beach comes in off that effort. That was back in late January. No shame in that race. That horse ended up losing to Liam Smith. Liam Smith ran lights out that day. And that was a horse that, we had talked about Liam Smith. Liam Smith came back and really blitzed the starter allowance field. That horse got claimed off of Doug O'Neill, claimed by Jeff Mullins. And Jeff Mullins looks like he got a pretty nice claim there in Liam Smith. So Sharon's Beach gave Liam Smith all he can handle. The question here, Sharon's Beach, 3-2 in the program. This horse comes 1 race off a layoff. I guess the bounce factor could come into play here. That would be an excuse, but I just think this horse is too good. I thought the horse ran really, really well that day. It's been nearly a month between races. Jonathan Thomas, I trust in Jonathan Thomas. He puts Antonio Fresu on the horse. Fresu certainly, he's on the comeback trail after getting injured early in the Santa Anita meet. So I think, Fresu certainly, gets a good one here in Sharon's Beach. And we're going to single Sharon's Beach here. No secret, 3-2. We'll put the single on the 2 horse, Sharon's Beach, in the 7th race. All right, now let's move over to the 8th race of the day. Now the 8th race, this is a California allowance race. This is a first-level allowance race for Calbreds, and these are 3-year-olds. They're going 5.5 furlongs here, and I'm looking, just looking for a price here. I think, any of these horses have a shot to win in this race. I've noticed in some of these Calbred races is where you get your long shot because they're evenly matched or competitive. Horses might get overbet. A price comes in and really upsets the apple cart. So I'm going to put all the horses in. And that's, as of now, with no scratches, that's 9 horses in the race. So I do think that all of them have a legit chance to win here. We're hoping for a price based on those couple singles that we had earlier in our ticket. So we're going to put all in the 8th race and hope for a nice price there. All right, now let's go to the 9th race of the day. 9th race is the end of the day there at Santa Anita. It caps off all the betting there. It caps off that pick 6 carryover. Caps off this pick 5. This is a 6 furlong dirt race, as they're all dirt races on Friday. There's another first-level allowance race for California breds, and these are 4-year-olds and up. So that's a first-level allowance race, as well as, there's the option to claim for $20,000 for horses who have passed through this condition here. And, there's a horse here that in for the claim. Everyone else meets the allowance condition. I'm going to put 4 horses in this. to try to cap off this pick 5. Hopefully we've got, those singles come in, maybe a price. We've got 4 horses in coverage. I feel like will be a good spot to be in. I'm going to put the one horse who is One Smoking Dude for Stephen Miotti. Miotti claims this horse off a pretty low profile connections there who don't win a whole lot. So I'm thinking Miotti can certainly win off the claim. He's got pretty good numbers, at the meet. And overall, Miotti's a good trainer. So we'll see if Miotti can improve this horse. One Smoking Dude has an okay record at Santa Anita on the dirt. 2 starts, 1 second. Has run some good races. Certainly fits here. Has, gone through this condition over at Los Alamitos. So we've got to, kind of decipher what that means. So this horse is in for the 20,000 claim. So, they claimed him. They're putting him in this allowance race and, hoping to cash a purse. If someone wants to claim this horse back, they're putting it out there. So he's 8-1. Aguilar takes the call. We'll put One Smoking Dude in there. Then I'll put the 3 horse who was Afternoon Nap. Afternoon Nap comes in for Carla Gaines. Carla Gaines' barn looks like it's heated up a little bit lately. Ayuso takes the call. Now, Ayuso's always a dangerous rider. But, here's the thing. Ayuso hasn't really done much in the Carla Gaines barn. A limited number of starters. But Afternoon Nap looks like should be, definitely fits in here class-wise and could be the class of the field, if there is such a thing in this field. This horse, the question is, horse has done most of his running on the turf and most of his success has come on the turf. But, has decent, record on the dirt, having 2 starts and 1/3. Didn't run poorly in those 2 starts. Breeding says the horse should be fine on the dirt, being by Practical Joke. We see a lot of sprinters by Practical Joke, and the mother was by Curlin, and let's face it, Curlin could produce anything. So, certainly Afternoon Nap shouldn't have a problem on this dirt course here. 3-1, we'll put Afternoon Nap in here. All right, now move over to the 4 horse with Special Club. Special Club for Craig Lewis and Juan Hernandez. Now, there's another horse, that has done work both on the dirt and the turf. This horse certainly fits here. They're taking advantage of that rule where, this horse has passed through this first level allowance condition, but did it on the turf. So he gets his chance to do it on dirt here. 3-1. Hernandez certainly wins a lot of races. Special Club certainly fits in here. We'll see if this horse wants to run on dirt on Friday. We'll put him in there. And then finally, we'll put the 7 horse, who is Coach Cronin. Now, Coach Cronin comes in for Mark Glatt. Coach Cronin, the folks there in Los Angeles, you might have, probably Coach Cronin's been in the news and seems like he's been in some hot water lately with some of his press conferences. That's the coach of the UCLA Bruins basketball team, men's basketball team. So Coach Cronin is your program favorite at 9-5. As I mentioned, for Mark Glatt, Kazushi Kimura takes the call. This horse, is certainly running the California allowance conditions. Has won a few races, but those came in claiming races. But with the way with some of these California breds run, these claiming wins are almost as good as the allowance win, at this level. So this horse, as I mentioned, should be your favorite, is your program favorite at 9-5. Kazushi Kimura, outside post, can certainly take care of this field. Has shown the ability to run well at Santa Anita with 2 of his wins coming at Santa Anita on the dirt. So certainly Coach Cronin could make amends for his namesake's behavior there at in press conferences after basketball games. So we'll put the 7 horse Coach Cronin in. So in the last race, we've got the 1, 3, 4, 7. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so for Friday, February 20th, we've got a late pick 5 for the day, and that pick 5 does start out in the 5th race. So in the 5th race, we're going to start out with the single of the 3. With the 2, 3, 4, 6, with the 2, with all, with 1, 3, 4, 7. Now that pick 5 ticket does cost $72. Now that's if there are no scratches. If there are scratches, it could reduce it down. If any of my singles scratch, well then we'll have to reevaluate. You'll have to reevaluate the ticket and figure out something for yourself. But as it stands, if you're looking to bet this, I wish you the best of luck. It's what I'm going to play. You can always add or subtract to it. You could play the pick 3s within it, play the pick 4 within it. Or if you want to make those win bets on the singles, I wish you the best of luck with whatever you decide to do. Let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very safe day of racing to start off their week. Let's wish ourselves some good luck and some good trips, as we know that makes all the difference in the world. So again, I appreciate everyone that's watched Fast Horses today and listened to the picks. Thanks to everybody who's subscribed. Please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. You can always like, dislike, make comments, make good comments, make bad comments. I promise to respond to everything. Let's make this a good day to start out the week over at Santa Anita. and we will be back for more coverage over the weekend at Santa Anita, the great race place on Fast Horses Today. Thank you.